podcast. I am Tony Gerdeman, here as always with Tom or Tom. How's it going?
It's good. We are here on the banks of the lovely Mississippi River, one of America's longest rivers.
Spelling-wise?
The longest, yes, spelling-wise, lengthwise, pretty wide. I have been led to believe pretty mighty. Have not verified myself though, so.
No, I have not. Never been on a paddle boat out here, so couldn't speak to the veracity or the voracity of this river. Pretty impressive, I guess, in terms of bodies of water in America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we were walking over here, and there's a ferry terminal right behind us, so you'll probably hear ferry boats tooting their horns loudly. There was a helicopter that just flew overhead. There's like a bird sanctuary thing not far over there. You might be able to hear some birds. I think there might have been a motorcycle that went by. There was a train earlier. It's like
we're right under a
perfect
palm tree. Who knows what's going to come from this? Like, beach squirrels.
There's so much potential terrible noise. I can't wait. Suncard asked if anyone is cutting grass. No, but I don't know if I think I posted this on Twitter this morning. We went out to eat breakfast this morning. Our first plan was scrapped, so it was like, all right, we're just gonna find like a little neighborhood place, hole in the wall. All right, fine. Sitting outside, 10 feet from our table, guy walks up, fires up a leaf blower. It's like, no, you got to come back later. We're not recording yet.
Yeah, exactly. You're way too early. You are on the ball, and that's not what this show is about.
No, not at all.
No, but what this show is about today is we thought, you know what, let's talk about what it would take for Ohio State to win, what an Ohio State win would look like in Friday's Sugar Bowl, what all of the different details might entail. That way, we can maybe spread some positivity throughout this such a negative world.
Well, and I think people have probably spent a lot of this week listening to people tell them all the reasons why Ohio State isn't going to win this game. That has not been an opinion that has been in short supply. So this is, I guess, counter-programming the rest of the college football internet.
Yeah, I hope you guys don't mind. So, for me, let's just start out with Justin Fields, who left the Northwestern game for us both just as a concern for like the first time ever, maybe since his debut, not knowing, how good is he going to be? Don't worry, he's not going to be as good as you think. So dial back your expectations. And then he was better than everyone thought. And then you see that Northwestern game where he just didn't look himself, was uncomfortable. Credit Northwestern's defense, credit not having Chris Olave, credit the bum thumb at the end. I guess maybe time was just a perfect storm of situations that made him look clearly worse than he is.
Well, it was definitely a confluence of negative events, all at the same point, and that's like you're gonna have that sometimes. And when you have like four things coming together to go against you in one day, like the odds are that's not going to be happening. I mean, that's not super likely to happen again. And that's last year against Clemson in the Fiesta Bowl, it was like, here are the 10 things that all had to go exactly wrong, some of which were injuries, some of which were officiating decisions, some of them were kick a field goal versus go for it decisions, but all of these things had to go wrong, and then they all did. Now, what are the odds that every single one of those things go wrong again? I mean, there's a lot of overlap between Ohio State fans and Browns fans, so I'm thinking the audience is probably not saying the chances of that are zero, but the odds are it at least evens out to not everything going against them this year.
It's like the 2005 Texas game where just one thing, you change one thing and you change the outcome.
Yeah.
So let's go back to then Justin Fields, because my thought before the season and during the season up until that Northwestern game was Justin Fields can beat anybody, and so you still have him. And as long as you have him, you have an opportunity to outscore whoever you play. And I still think that's true. I'm not going to let one performance change that. Now, we were concerned about the thumb. Seems like maybe that was maybe, Tom, maybe you overblew that a little bit, that concern, whereas I was always like, Tom, just calm down. It's just a thumb. How important is that really when you're throwing a football?
Right.
It's not important. It's not even a real finger.
I mean, it's one of your 5 most important fingers on your throwing hand, I guess. I mean, if you want to look at it that way. But, yeah, we'll see. I think we both had the same reaction to the press conference answers on his thumb, which was like, that's not what you say if things are good. And then maybe we've been hearing things are not quite as bad as we had initially thought they might be. So, yeah, I mean, if the thumb's better and Olave is back, that solves 2 of the problems. Now, there's still some questions.
Yes.
How will he be able to, he's had issues this year with Indiana and Northwestern confusing him and throwing him looks that kind of makes him not sure what he's seeing. You're going to see that against Clemson. So that doesn't solve all the problems, but at least you've gone from like these series of unfortunate events that led to a really bad performance against Northwestern. Some of those have been mitigated, it sounds like.
So of his 8 career interceptions, I believe all 8 have come against ranked opponents. So that is, I mean, I don't think that's a coincidence. That's 4 different games where he's thrown interceptions. So something to keep in mind. Obviously, this will be one of the most talented defenses he's faced, if not the most talented since last year. And but the good thing, one of the good things, Tom, is Clemson will be missing their all-ACC safety, Nolan Turner, for the first half. He is their free safety. He's their deep guy. So there will be an opportunity to make plays. You have Chris Olave back. So he is your deep threat. You have Garrett Wilson there, who is your all-around guy who can do whatever you want, inside, outside. Could be a deep guy as well. And for me, I think both of those guys have an opportunity in the first half throughout the game to make plays down the field. And I know we've talked about maybe you shorten the game and you bleed some clock, but when you've got those guys, I think you got to take some shots.
Well, if you're going to have a better option to hit, or a better opportunity to hit those deep passes in the first half, you got to take your shots in the first half. Now, that may be run, deep shot, and use that to help suck the defense up a little bit and open things up even a little bit more. I talked to Ross Fulton on the morning scoop for Friday morning, so you'll hear that one later tonight or tomorrow morning. He talked a lot about getting the ball out quick. They may be looking to get the ball out quick, and you sort of mitigate some of what Clemson tries to do on defense by doing that, because they keep guys back, they keep deep safeties back to avoid big plays. They will blitz you from all different angles. Get it out quick before the blitz gets there. Don't let the blitz impact you. And then, but it's almost like running a screen. You're letting them get in, you get it over them, and then you've got a bunch of green space in front of you.
Yeah, throw some screens as well.
Is that legal?
Well, I've seen it on television. There's talk about it, and maybe Ohio State should try it, assuming the running back would catch the ball. Unlike last time, but I don't like the fact that people.
This is a show where we're being optimistic.
I know. Don't be critical of J.K. Dobbins because of that one drop. I mean, the dude rushed for 2,000 yards last year and would have single-handedly won the bowl game last year against Clemson if he was healthy. But let's digress. And so, yeah, you got the passing game back together. Even Dabo was saying Jamison Williams, he was talking him up as well, which, okay, we'll see. We've been waiting.
Yeah.
And that last week was not a good game for Jamison Williams, but this is also an opportunity for him to step up, and you'll see how they spread out the secondary of Clemson. We talked about Ohio State's secondary being thinned out. Clemson's is now, and so we'll see how that goes. And I don't know how good their corners are. They will be tested, and it's just up to Justin to have the time, Tom, which takes us to the offensive line.
Yeah, and the offensive line, I think, is an area where Ohio State fans should be feeling pretty good about things. I mean, you've got both tackles back. Both tackles have been outstanding all year. Josh Myers is back after missing the Michigan State game. He's been pretty good all year. Wyatt Davis, All-American. I mean, you've got a line that, on the whole, fans should be feeling pretty good about that. And Clemson's defensive line is good, but they're young, and you may have an opportunity. I mean, they're very active. They do a lot of slanting and stunting and all sorts of stuff to try and create confusions. But maybe you can take advantage of that. You run a counter, get guys slanting one way, run a counter behind them, and that's something that we have seen. That was something J.K. Dobbins was very good at last year. Recognizing it, bouncing it out. It was something that Trey Sermon demonstrated a pretty good ability to do against Northwestern as well. That was a lot of his runs were not just run straight and hit the hole. It was cut it back and find the crease and go.
And that's something he's getting better and better at. He's more comfortable. And I think it's going to continue. I think with the Clemson defensive line, it's young. It's all, high school All-Americans, 5 stars and 4 stars that Ohio State also offered, and they'd be playing for the Buckeyes right now too. But they're still young. And when you've got a veteran offensive line playing as well as they are as a unit, and then Trey Sermon just more comfortable, And I think we mentioned it in one of the past shows where it's almost like the Matrix now, where he can read the letters and the numbers and know what's coming and know where to go and what to do. And so, that's, to me, the running game right now is a complete strength for Ohio State, and that's one of the reasons why you have to have some confidence that Ohio State can win this, because Clemson has done fairly well defensively on the ground, but they've also given up some yards to Notre Dame, and I think a couple of other games where they shouldn't have. Maybe they let down. You can't let down against Ohio State. I don't think they will. I also don't know that it matters. What did I give you as an over-under yesterday? Like 183.5, and you went over?
I went over that. I think they get over that, and I'm not predicting another record-setting day for Trey Sermon.
Hater.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to be positive here. But I do think they're going to be able to run the ball, and if they can run the ball, you're obviously getting the, if you can run the ball, that gives you some more options in the red zone where you've got to go at 7, not 3. It also keeps Clemson's offense off the field, and with the way Ohio State's defense has been this year, we talked yesterday on yesterday's show about hey, they're feeling better. They feel like they've got some of the issues fixed. What would really fix the issues is if Trevor Lawrence didn't get to throw the ball at them very much. That would really, if Trevor Lawrence didn't get to run the ball, if Travis Etienne didn't get to get out in space on the pass, yes, that would be a tremendous. There's a real good way to make sure Clemson never scores is don't let Clemson get the ball. Now they're going to get the ball some, but if you can cut down their possessions, that makes that a much more manageable task.
So say Trevor Lawrence is like 13 for 20 in this game. Do you feel good, or is that that's Clemson just controlling everything and not needing to throw? I feel like I need a few more lines on that stat line before I can render a judgment. They just don't need to throw. But again, this is a positive show, so let's just stick with that.
If Trevor Lawrence has to throw 45 times, I think that's a very good sign for Ohio State. If he throws it 20 times, that's probably not great unless Ohio State's holding the ball for 20 minutes a half, which I don't think they'll be able to do that.
Lawrence throws 20 times and Uiagalelei throws gets in there for whatever reason. Who's to say?
Trevor Lawrence gets called for targeting.
You know what? I'm tired of that guy getting away with everything. If he's going to run and he's going to lower his 6'6" noggin, you know what? You got to throw the flag and get him out of there. You're trying to keep players safe. Mm-hmm. And if he's running around all legs and arms akimbo, and he's got his head pointed at you, at a defenseless defender, get him out of there. The game doesn't need it.
I think that there's a pretty good chance that Clemson can win without Trevor Lawrence having a big day passing it. If he does a little bit of passing, that's what they did last year. He didn't have a huge day passing the ball last year. Had a few big hits to Travis Etienne in the passing game. He did a lot on the ground by himself. If his total yardage is under 300, Ohio State probably wins.
Yeah.
If his total yardage is over 400, Ohio State probably needs to score, whatever his total yardage is, Ohio State needs to score 10 points for every 100 yards of his total offense to win. Probably, he gets 300, they need to score more than 30. Yeah. He gets 400, they need to score more than 40. Don't let him score. Don't let him put up 500 yards of total offense, or it's gonna be a real exciting game.
Unless he's chasing points in Ohio. Let's see what the efficiency is on those 300, 400, 500-yard days. Because as we saw, Michael Penix, who was pretty much the same quarterback as Trevor Lawrence, put up 500 yards. And yes, Indiana lost by 7, but did they? It wasn't really that close. Tom, how does Ohio State keep Brent Venables from stealing signs in this game? Because we know that he does it according to other people. We're not saying he doesn't, but it's funny how it seems like he does. So how do you stop it? Do you just tempo? Do you huddle? Do you mix it up? Do you what are you expecting? How do they combat that?
Well, again, this is something I talked to Ross Fulton about for the Morning Scoop on Friday. But he said you can do it a couple different ways. You can go, huddle, slow, just not go with a check with me. But you can also do a lot of pre-snap motion. You can do a lot of, two tight ends on one side of the formation, and move them over to the other side of the formation. Guy goes in motion one way, goes back the other way. So because what Clemson will do is they'll line up one way, and then when you show motion, they'll adjust to that. So you get them adjusting, then they're adjusting again to what else you're doing. That can mess with them a little bit. The other thing is just go to the line, get the play, and go get the play signaled in, get to the line, go. Don't just go
warp
speed.
Go.
Yeah, go warp speed and get it in before. What the heck that was?
It's new.
It's like school, fourth period is over at high school, I guess. The other thing they can, if you run that quick tempo, Clemson doesn't have a chance to look at what you're doing, adjust to it, shift, move, show you one look, then shift into another look. They, if you can go, they don't have time to mess with you because they're just trying to get lined up.
I seem to recall, it may have been Penn State a year or two ago, where Ohio State caught them mid-shift, like on purpose.
Well, last year at the Fiesta Bowl, they did that on a 4th and 1.
There you go. Right.
Yeah, they lined up on a 4th and 1 with Fields and shotgun. Yeah. Then he did the meerkat, looked to the sideline to get a signal, walked up to the line like he was talking to the line. Clemson's defensive line is all standing up looking for their signal, and he just gets down and under center and just goes. And then the offensive line's sitting there down in 3-point stances, and they just blow Clemson 4 yards off the line. That was the easiest 4th down they picked up all game. The only problem is that only works once. Then they've seen it, then they know.
Tom, over under Justin Fields passing yards, 268.5.
It's one of those things where I'm going to say over, and if he's a little bit over, that's good. If he's much over that, if he's at 400 passing yards, that's probably not great, because that means they're not able to run the ball, or they're playing from behind. Neither of those is great for Ohio State. So I'm going to say over. He might end up around 300 yards passing and 100-ish yards rushing. If he's way under 268, that could either be really good or really bad. If they can run the ball 8 yards a carry or even 6 yards a carry, and they have 400 yards in the ground, guess what? That's great news, and he doesn't have to pass for it. But
threw for 114 last week in a win.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more than that. Just my thought. But 300 yards passing in this offense is really nothing. It's just part of the offense. It's just part of the 60 minutes of play. And so I definitely think that's possible because, again, the faith in Justin Fields has returned, because why wouldn't it?
Right.
You can't judge him just based on that one game. He is still, in my opinion, the best quarterback in Ohio State football history. So why not assume he will be that in this game as well? Because there's a lot riding on this for him as well. Mm-hmm. Legacy, NFL, just wanting to be better than the last game. And Tom, this is a brand new one for us. Whatever is going on over there.
I'm surprised you don't know that's a calliope. That is they're common on steamships. There are a couple Mississippi River paddle wheelers.
Great.
I don't know, about 400 feet down the Mississippi from us, and the steamships. The steam is used. It powers sort of a version of an organ known as a calliope.
We're close.
These things.
Thank you, Tom.
These things are things that I absolutely expected to have to discuss today on the show. But yes, that is a new one. Cross that one off your bingo card.
We didn't have that on campus?
I'm pretty sure we have not seen a calliope.
Down the Olentangy?
No, I'm pretty sure the only place I've ever seen a calliope is on Lake George in New York. So.
Okay, well, I'll side with you there. You are the calliope expert on this show, as we know now.
As we've
it's been long established.
Need to get my business cards updated, I guess.
Tom, anywhere else you like Ohio State in this? The defensive line is going to be key. Can the defensive ends live up to the defensive tackles? And that's Jonathan Cooper. It could be his last game. He doesn't want it to be, obviously. He needs his best game.
Yeah, and I feel like the interior of the defensive line, Ohio State, that might be one of Ohio State's biggest advantages, is the middle of Clemson's line is not fantastic. The middle of Ohio State's defensive line is really, really good. Someone's saying no way he comes back. The reason he was saying Jonathan Cooper might not be his last game is because if they win, he will have another game.
Yes. See, we're trying to remain positive and upbeat about this.
Yes, this is the optimistic show. Yes. It seems like that's something that this is the longest. It's like Inagata Davida. How is this an 18-minute song?
The DJ has gone on a smoke break.
So that I think is the biggest area of opportunity for Ohio State is get a push in the middle of that line. If you've got someone coming right up the middle, that creates a problem. That blows up running plays. You start getting into the mesh points on runs. You get someone in Trevor Lawrence's face, and maybe you have someone coming off the edge that can kind of contain him. That's when you have an opportunity. I mean, he's got long arms and stuff. If you can get in there and kind of constrict him a little bit, you get him a little uncomfortable maybe. That you don't have to do that every time. You can do that, get him off balance, force a turnover or two. That changes the whole game.
Do you worry more? Do you focus more on containing him, like just run, pass rush, but do it safely? Let it come from the interior, and then the defensive ends maybe wait a little bit for not wait, but just don't lose contain. Don't lose that edge. Set that edge, and just be there in case he just meet him, on the way, and just be careful with him because he's so good out of the pocket. He's just as good out of the pocket as he's in there. But at least if he's in there, you've got him contained. You've got that Tommy Togiai and Haskell Garrett in there as well, trying to create some pressure, and then also getting hands up, batting the balls up. We know Haskell Garrett, the king of the one-hand bat, catch, touchdown, boom.
Yeah. How many times did you do that this year? At least once.
At least one. I've lost count after the first one. It's like, well, no sense of keeping track of these because it's just going to be boom, boom, boom routine. So the pass rush, from the interior, I think is going to be big, and then can the defensive ends clean it up and maybe throw in some blitzes, Baron Browning, Justin Hilliard. Although I still, in lieu of the blitzing, maybe keep those guys with an extra eye on Travis Etienne, on the swings, the screens, things like that.
Yeah, and that's one of those things where I think Ohio State probably would like to try and get the ball, pressure Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you bring some blitzes, but there's not the problem. The reason Trevor Lawrence is considered a generational quarterback prospect and has been since he was about in 10th grade or so is there's not a great consistent way to beat him. There's not a consistent recipe to throw him off his game. You get a bunch of pressure on him. He's still, maybe he's not quite as effective, but he's still pretty effective. And then you're opening up a bunch of stuff behind him. And there's going to be an awful lot of this game is going to hinge on, okay, Trevor Lawrence gets the ball out to someone. How quickly does Ohio State get that person on the ground? Yeah. Can if you swing one out to Travis Etienne, is he picking up 6 yards or is he picking up 24? If Amari Rodgers, is he on a crossing route? Is he getting 12 yards in a first down, or is that first guy missing him, and then he's running for another 15, 20 yards? A lot of the game's going to hinge on that, and can Ohio State get the guys on the ground, without getting a ton of yards after.
It's like the Whop Philyor thing we talked about. 11 catches, 79 yards, no problem.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if Amari Rodgers has 12 catches for 80 yards, even 12 catches for 90 yards, Ohio State would probably take that with a big smile on their face.
Because you haven't given up the 70-yarder that other programs do. Tom, I think what I want to do is, from future shows, I want to get this music and just play underneath us talking. Because now, I think this is the identity we've been waiting for. We've never known what we were really doing with this show. And now I think it found us.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to do longer shows because this song is literally never going to end, but that's okay. That's fine.
This is the song that never ends. So, Tom, how long is the average Calliope song?
Not this long.
Is that right?
This may be a whole Calliope concert. Yes. Can't wait. I'm so glad we keep finding.
Yes, I mean, this is great. The outside corners, Sean Wade, Seven Banks, I think we're assuming they'll be fine. You may give up the play because that's just what happens.
Yeah.
The safeties, though, Tom, is where I think it's going to be key. And Josh Proctor's been playing very well. Can he step up? Is he the deep guy? Marcus Hooker should be back, but what's his role? Lathan Ransom, does he have a bigger role? There are reasons to be optimistic about a secondary that has had time to fix some things in practice, but not necessarily employ them in games. And now, hey, now you get to, and you only have to play Trevor Lawrence. And so, I think that's optimistic, is that at least you're not playing Michael Penix.
Good thing you had those swimming lessons. Welcome to the deep end of the pool. It's you're getting thrown in the ocean with Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it's going to be and we've got Young King Midwest, Kiz Midwest says Buckeyes will have two safeties in the field. I think that is very, very likely. I think they are going to play a much more conservative defense. I think you're going to have 2 safeties back. I think maybe they'll try and jam them some, but I think you may have a lot more zone. Because if you're in a zone, I mean, if you're worried about Amari Rogers and Marcus Williamson, and you're sitting in a zone, then it's not one guy gets beat. He beats Marcus Williamson, and then there's no, everyone else is
exactly
running with the receivers and
Goodbye.
looking the other way.
Yeah.
That also helps you with Trevor Lawrence, where if you're in man, your corners are turning and running with the receivers, and they're facing the other way when Trevor Lawrence takes off running. If you're in a zone, you're facing the quarterback. That helps. That means they're going to give up a whole lot more 10-yard outs or, crossing route for 12 yards. You're going to give up a lot more of that stuff, but if they don't give up the big one, maybe they live with it.
Are field goals? No, I'm not saying they
Bad.
score field. No,
They're bad.
I'm saying no.
Field goals are bad.
Giving up field goals is that a win for Ohio State? Even if it's every drive, that's 13, 14 drives. That's not a win.
Yeah.
But I feel like if they hold them to field goals, if Clemson is just 7 plays, 80 yards, but then they end up with a field goal, to me that feels like a win.
Right. Yeah. If you get through, if they're taking 6 minutes off the clock, but kicking a field goal, and then Ohio State's putting together a 5-6 minute drive, so it's not, you're not getting the defense worn out. That's probably fine, because if both teams are putting together long drives and Clemson's kicking field goals, I mean, Ryan Day sure sounds like he's going to be. He's making all the right noises about not kicking field goals this year, which you would hope that he's learned the lesson from last year when they had 4 scoring drives in the first half and 3 of them were field goals. So you have 4 scoring drives, but you're only up 2 scores, and then what happens? I
am interested to see. We know Ryan Day is an aggressive guy. How does he balance his aggression with maybe an Ohio State running attack that is really effective? And as Bill Landis of The Athletic asked him this week, you can also be aggressive with the running game, right, Coach? Yeah. And it feels like maybe, obviously he knew that before last week, before that game. But I think maybe that reestablished that, aggression is also running the ball. And then, some timely deep shots and things like that. But if the running game is working, and it looks like it, I don't think we expect it to stop or be stopped or be contained. 5 yards a carry, I think, is a winning number, just because it keeps things moving, keeps the chains moving. And you can be aggressive running the ball, but I'm wondering how he balances that with his desire to, I still want to throw the ball, because he does. Yeah,
and that's the old college quarterback in Ryan Day, the old college quarterback coach in Ryan Day, the old passing game coordinator in Ryan Day. Guess what Ryan Day wants to do? He wants to throw the ball. It's not a big shock. It's like offensive line coaches. What do they want to do? They want to run the ball. That's just defensive head coaches want to punt and play for field position and protect their defenses. It's just
what do special teams coaches want to do?
End every drive with a kick. So it's just. Someone just rode by on a bike. There's a police officer in a golf cart, and someone rode by on a bike yelling, "Arrest that guy who's playing that." So, sir, it's called a calliope. You should listen to our show. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Let's go to questions.
Let's go to questions. That's gonna be the title. That's gonna be the title of this episode. What were we talking about?
Player. Let's go to questions.
Everything you need to know about calliopes.
Good job. Oh no, I thought it was over. I thought it was done.
Nope. So there have been a lot of questions about what happens if Clemson's offensive coordinator,
yes,
whose name is
Tony Elliott,
tested positive for COVID this week. We actually talked to him on Monday, so this must have really just happened. Clemson announced on today, which is Wednesday, that Tony Elliott is out with COVID. Will not be traveling with the team. They have their passing game coordinator, our buddy Matt Connolly, wrote about it. It sounds like their passing game coordinator and Dabo Swinney will kind of be working together to be calling plays. So if we want to go to the Ryan Day theory, Tony Elliott was the running backs coach. Now it's your passing game coordinator, and Dabo Swinney, who's a wide receiver. Will they maybe want to throw the ball more? It is their nature.
I don't think it's a small thing. If Ohio State had lost Kevin Wilson, that would be significant, but you'd still have Ryan Day, who calls plays anyway, and him and Kevin Wilson share some duties and talk it out. But as I don't know how involved Brad Streeter,
Yeah,
quarterback's coach.
that sounds right.
It's Streeter, I believe. How involved he was with Tony Elliott and Dabo, and how much this whole is a three-headed monster, or was it just Tony Elliott? So that will change, and there are past play callers who have been bad play callers.
Yeah.
Ohio State has had them in the past.
Any of them that maybe have happened against Clemson in a playoff game, like, I don't know, 4-ish years ago?
Who's to say?
Who's to say?
I remember some, but I don't want to name names.
Okay.
Let's go with Ed W. No,
it's too obvious.
Let's go E. Warner,
yep.
And also Tim Beck, who is a great recruiter. So that's something.
Yeah, there's that.
Really loud music.
It's getting louder.
And the boat isn't getting any closer.
Pianissimo, not fortissimo. The other question that was, will the game be canceled? What happens if the game's canceled? What happens if, Clemson has a bunch more players test positive? My sense is they're going to play this game on the first, almost regardless. Unless there's an outbreak of, 50 people.
Yes.
They're going to play this game. And right now, there's no indication of any kind of widespread outbreak in any team. Whenever you have one guy who tests positive, there's always concern like, hey, contact tracing, or, will someone else test positive 3 days later? It's got to be a concern. Clemson is not testing again. Clemson is not testing again until Saturday.
Really?
Saturday, they are not testing. They did their testing today. They got on a plane. They are landing, right about now, I think. So I think they're supposed to be about 5:30 local time. They're supposed to be landing. And they're not going to test tomorrow. Clemson, the Big Ten has tests every day. ACC tests 4 times a week. So no tests on Thursday for Clemson. They will test Friday morning again. And then, that's if you have guys who are out at that point, then it's a real problem because you don't have a ton of time to adjust.
Well, do we know, is the PCR testing available here? Like, if there's a positive, can it get confirmed here? I would
assume they must. I have not heard that officially, but if the Big Ten is doing it, I'm sure they're doing it for playoff games when the stakes are so high.
What if the Big Ten is like, no, you cannot use our facilities?
Yeah. Wouldn't it be funny if the Big Ten, whose policies have put their teams at a disadvantage all year.
There you go.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Now I don't think I would put real much. I don't think I put a whole lot of concern about the game not being played.
No.
You've got enough people. You've got enough people to play. They're going to play.
It would be a number of coaches who would have to be missing, and it wouldn't just start. You can miss a head coach. It's like, sorry.
Right. Yeah. I mean, think about how many players Ohio State was missing 20-something players for Michigan State, plus Ryan Day, plus a couple assistants.
Is Corey Dennis out that week too?
Corey Dennis was out that week. Yeah, and I think one of the other defensive coach. But yeah, you're gonna. They've been playing without coaches. They've been playing without players all year. Clemson played Notre Dame without a bunch of their good players. The game will go on.
When was the last time Ohio State had all of their coaches? Was it like Indiana?
Probably Indiana. Yeah, it feels like there's just kind of been like.
Now it's these two who are out.
Right. Yeah. Good. It hasn't been everyone's got it. It's just this guy has it now. This guy has it now. This guy has it. So. It is getting feisty in the comment section. I'm starting to think Ohio State and Clemson fans don't like each other. Nope, can't read that one. Nope, not going to read that one. Nope, not going to read that one. I don't think Ohio State fans like Dabo Swinney.
Is that right?
That is my takeaway.
You are a Calliope expert and also the expert on the opinion of Dabo Swinney.
And my expertise is now telling me it is not playing anymore. So.
Oh, I didn't even notice. It's still bouncing around in my head.
Yeah.
We had that going on. We had some horns blaring over here, and then a helicopter over top of us, all at the same time. It's a new record.
Young Kid Midwest says linebackers will be rotating. Hilliard will be playing. He probably gets to start. I don't think Hilliard starts. Assuming they have everyone. Assuming you have Warner, Browning, and Borland. I think those are your 3 starters, and I think there's a possibility they play more nickel in this game, and you rely on the defensive front to try and control the running game, and you play 2 safeties, you play, and you do you kind of run it that way.
More nickel, so you're talking it's just going to be mainly Warner and Browning and Hilliard rotating.
Yeah, and I think, and and maybe Hilliard's in it. Yeah, Warner, Browning, Hilliard. And
I think as much as you can get Justin Hilliard on the field is good, because that dude has been awesome for a while now.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a matter of, can the front four or the front six, if you're running a nickel, can they handle the running game? Mm-hmm. Can they get pressure on Fields or on Lawrence? Can they keep him in the pocket? Because if you can, and you can have a second safety back there, I think they would like to do that. Keep those big plays, limit things. Nathan Naker says he predicted 63-21 Ohio State. That is maybe even more optimistic than we can manage on this optimistic
What would
show.
Justin Fields' passing yards look like in a 63-point game? Because I could see like 400, I could see like 260, probably I'll say like 360, and then they also have 300 yards rushing.
Tanish says, any update on Justin's thumb? We talked about it a little bit earlier. The question says it seemed too quick to answer in the press conference. That was our takeaway. It sounds like maybe it's not as much of a concern, but we'll see. It is Big 12 refs for this week's game. That's probably not a terrible thing. You want to avoid Pac-12 refs, and SEC refs didn't work out great for Ohio State last year. So all right, this is the other option. So.
I'm just hoping the refs. No, I shouldn't even say this. Like, they're more engaged. We've seen so many times this year where no replays were bothered with, and I guess maybe I shouldn't say. You know what I'd like to see in this game, Tom? Replays. So let's strike that one from the record, because replays can sometimes be terrible.
Dale asked, what's the injury status for the Buckeyes? We'll get an official injury report probably the morning of the game.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Well, or afternoon of the game.
Yeah. Clemson has said they're going to do the same thing. And Clemson has a couple guys who are a little bit questionable. Xavier Thomas, the defensive end. He's been a topic of conversation. It sounds like he might not play. But I mean, in terms of injuries, I don't think there's
Master Teague.
Yeah, Master Teague is a question with concussion. But I mean, there's not a ton of other things that I think are kind of
Marcus Hooker,
lingering questions.
Being a game time decision 2 weeks ago, he should be okay.
Yeah. Lee says 34-27 Buckeyes. I think Ohio State would take that. Someone asked earlier about the hype video. Did you get to watch the hype video today?
I did not.
It was a strong to quite strong effort from the OSU video team. Chris Olave was the narrator of the video, and it was all about how you don't sometimes what feels like the ending of the story is actually the beginning of the story. And the narrative arc on Chris Olave has the end of the Fiesta Bowl last year. They go through all the stuff that they went through this year. They're going to play, they're not going to play. The parents and the protests and the petition from Justin Fields, and they get to play, and then they're missing games and they're missing players, and do they even deserve to be in the playoffs? And then they get lined up with Clemson again. I mean,
and then
it would be
Olave
hard.
gets COVID.
Olave gets COVID.
And is going to
miss this game, and then the protocols get changed, and now he gets to play in the game. And I mean, this is shaping up as a one-time filmmaker. This is shaping up as quite a a really hokey, cheesy, like
Disney Plus.
Disney can just take the last 30 seconds of this podcast and go, okay, I've got an outline for the cheesiest sports movie in history, and does the movie end with Chris Olave catching the winning touchdown pass in the game, or does it end with another heartbreaking loss, and the moral of the story is life is unfair sometimes.
Right.
But
it's the same studio that killed Bambi's mom.
Spoilers.
So
hello.
And also Dumbo's mom, and Pinocchio's mom, and Lady and the Tramp's mom. Can you believe this?
Walt Disney is a serial killer. Things we learned today. Calliope's and Walt Disney is a serial killer.
That's what the people want.
Meanwhile, while we're talking about Calliope's and serial killers, the listeners are throwing out some suggestions. Lee said he'd like to see the tight ends get involved.
Mm-hmm. Like we keep saying, if Justin Fields just gets to that third read, or maybe make it the first or second read, and just have that defense respect the fact that the tight ends might get the ball, and then maybe that gives you that extra 2 feet for the receivers to make somebody miss after the catch and pick up yards, pick up a first down or a touchdown.
Straight Fact says Clemson defense will, quote, give you stuff. They love to blitz with the linebackers, the dump offs, the backs, the tight ends underneath will be there all night. That was something that worked for Ohio State last year. Just kind of swing it out, hit those zones, those underneath zones. It worked for him last year. It could work
be
for him
like
again
a
this year.
200-yard day for Trey Sermon, just total offense with dump offs and screens and of course running the ball.
So Tanish asks, how much of an impact do you think the tight ends will have on the game from both sides? Galloway is fantastic from Clemson. I think Ohio State needs to get Ruckert and Farrell involved.
They are involved. They block very well.
Yeah, they're. I mean, I wouldn't expect a big day, but you have one play in the goal line where a little play action. I mean,
the one you keep talking about where Luke Farrell is wide open in the end zone.
Yep.
I think Ohio State has seen that by now.
I would think so. Yes.
Keep an eye on that. Remember that, Justin.
Yeah, Straight Fact says Clemson D-line is not what it used to be. Believes Ohio State needs to slow the game down, take it back to the 90s, and ground and pound behind the defense needs to be bend but no break. I mean,
give it to Pepe Pearson.
When is that not the answer?
Give it to Jermon Jackson.
That's
let Matt Keller work.
Ironton's own Jermon Jackson. Yeah,
right.
I think that there's a decent possibility that that's the game plan is pound them, and if they can, keep pound them, limit the possessions, keep the ball in front of you on defense, make them earn it, make them go slow, make them be deliberate, keep the score down. I mean, it's a lot of what other teams try to do to Ohio State all the time. Ohio State's going to try and do that to Clemson. Eric says, do you think Ryan Day has stayed vanilla in his schemes for this last 6 games to hide his strategies? I think there's a certain amount of Ohio State doesn't have to do that much in most of these Big Ten games. Like, how much do you need to show to beat Michigan State or Rutgers?
I don't know that they've been holding stuff back, but I do think they're putting stuff in. Mm-hmm. So there will be some different plays, I think.
Vinay wants to get Trey going on some wheel routes. You said an extension of the running game. Well, I mean, what is the record of wheel routes all time?
Wheel routes are undefeated, and the stance on this show on wheel routes is that yes. Yeah. Justin wants to know if Fields plays bad, is there a chance he comes back next year?
It
would take some talks.
He's going to be he's going to be a first-round pick. If he plays just a catastrophic game, I guess he could theoretically come back with the idea that, we had this conversation in the car at one point that, okay, this year Trevor Lawrence is a very clear number one, and you've got some good number two possibilities. Trey Lance, Zach Wilson from BYU. I mean, there's other guys who could plausibly be the second quarterback off the board if Fields has a really bad game again. I think it's possible, but I would say it's 5% chance or less.
Yeah, I think what Ohio State does is puts together the starters, the NFL busts, who only had like a year of starting, and we're giving you information. That's what the coaches. That's what everybody is supposed to do. You give the kid information and let him make his decision. But you throw out Mitch Trubisky, Dwayne Haskins has been cut after 2 seasons.
Yeah,
like all of these guys who only had 1 year of starting.
Yeah,
and see, where are the success stories in there?
I'm scrolling back through questions. Is Garrett Wilson playing?
We saw the Instagram post of a tear emoji replying to a shoe Nike apparel OSU post.
Yes.
And so I stopped trying. I don't know that I ever started trying to interpret teenagers' posts on social media that are just emojis. So I don't read into them. We have not heard Garrett Wilson's name. While we don't tell you who, what, and stuff,
yes.
But I can tell you I have not heard Garrett Wilson's name from any of my sources. So.
Yeah, that's same for me. I have not heard anything about Garrett Wilson. I think everyone is just so on edge with everything right now that it's like you're
I'm on edge saying I haven't heard anything.
Pick for a breakout pass catcher on offense, but high size Wilson and Olave. I'd go Trey Sermon. I think that's a good. And they
Julian
said
Fleming. While he. I don't know where they're going to get him snaps, but it was a good look first half last week.
Yeah, and Vinay says perfect opportunity to use the blitz to run wheel routes and crossing routes. I mean, wheel routes take a while to run, so that's not necessarily something you're going to.
As long as you got to pick up that blitz. The running back who would normally do it is out and around. So.
Well, and what this is another thing I talked to Ross about. One of the things Clemson will do is they'll bring a couple backers. But if they see that your running back is staying in, the guy who was assigned to the running back in the passing game will also then come onto the late blitz. So there's Christian M, I'm gonna have words for you. We'll get to that in a minute. If they have, if you're bringing pressure, you might as well get him out there and try and get him in space. And I mean, that's the thing. Wow, the moon is really big on the other side of the Mississippi. I don't know if you can see that. Let's maybe turn that around there. Keep going. There you go. Hey, there's the moon. Right.
The little dot, Tom.
Right there. That's the moon. It looks bigger in person. So anyway.
While you're standing on it,
yes,
it looks gigantic.
Look, a big pizza pie. Anyway, so yes, Christian. I have an issue with Christian.
All right,
Christian says it would be cool if you guys interviewed people walking by and asked them what they think about the game. Okay, as a former local TV person, I will tell you those are called MOS or man on the street interviews. They're literally the worst thing in the history of the world. We used to call them ITP or interrupt the public because people are having a nice day and then you go up to them and say, "Sir, what do you think about the fill in the blank issue?" And here's the other thing: most of the people here, we saw our first Ohio State fans this afternoon. There was two people walking down the street in Ohio State shirts near our hotel. We saw one person in an Ohio State shirt last night. I don't know that they were here for the game. They looked younger, like they weren't necessarily here for the game. And so here's the thing. I think virtually no one here will have any kind of opinion on any of this. They might know who's playing, maybe. But if there weren't, they have signs up on like light posts about the Sugar Bowl. Other than that, you would have no idea around town that this is going on this week.
Like when we've been in Arizona or wherever, the Uber drivers don't really know who's playing, and so it's like the locals don't necessarily care or know.
Yeah, and that's especially true this year when it's all local. So there's not. Demand says, what stat decides this game? Ohio State rush yards
per carry.
I mean,
right.
I think if you told me Ohio State total rushing yards is over 350 or something like that, I'd feel like that's a pretty good. And if Ohio State total rush yards is 120, I'm feeling like they probably lose.
At what rushing total do you feel like, say, 95% sure Ohio State has won? Because I think they can rush for 250 and lose.
Yeah, I think it probably needs to be 325, 350 before I start thinking they're 80%, 90% chance to win. If they're over 400 yards,
especially given last week's here, the Big Ten championship game where they had so many, and then it's like you're still trailing. Yeah,
he follows up rush yards, red zone, time of possession. It's not time of possession. It's not time of possession. Here's the question about red zone. What is it? What kind of red zone stat are we getting? Are we just getting a percentage? Touchdown percentage?
Yeah.
That doesn't tell me anything. They get in the red zone once, they score a touchdown.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, like 6 for 6.
Six for 6. Yes. If you tell me they were 6 for 6 scoring touchdowns in the red zone, yes, that would solve it. For
would you be okay with 83.3?
So 5 touchdowns and 1. Yeah, I would take that. I think once you get to anything less than like 2/3 is where I think you've got like they gotta score.
Once you've got like 2 failed trips, they gotta stop slapping this.
Yep.
Getting fired up, Tom.
Corey says, what time is the actual kickoff? It's like 8:45, 8:52, something like that. It's like whatever time the TV says. It's like the Nissan pregame rush. Get ready for 17 Heisman House show commercials.
Yes.
Whatever time they tell you on TV, it's like usually 40 minutes after that. When we're at the game, Tony will tweet the time. They have a running time on the clock down to kickoff. So at that point, we'll know. Okay, that's when it really will start. And
9:17.
Yeah, it sounds right. It's always later than you think, and it's like, oh, my son was all excited. He's 7. He's all excited to watch the game. I was like, what time does it start? It's like 8:45 or so. He's like, oh. It's like, oh. So if we let him stay up very late, he might get to watch some of the first half. Great. Nathan says starting receivers need to be Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, you're going to see Jameson Williams. I think you're going to see Jackson Smith and Jigba, but yeah, it's. I think. I don't know that they've seen enough from him to leapfrog him yet, and that's just a function of not enough
Yeah, but I'm sure he's also itching to make some plays because it's been a while since we've seen him as well.
Tanish says, "Who will be Servant's backup if Master is out? The bowling ball? Yeah, I think it's the meatball. It's Mayan Williams.
Give to Mayan Williams. Everybody loves watching him. I do. He always does something. He always produces something.
Just hurt my throat doing the Nissan Heisman House voice.
There you go. That's why you got Tom. Do not try to recreate commercials unless it's like commercials from your youth that you really love and that you have to search on YouTube, and then you just go around the house repeating these, and your wife is like, it means nothing to me. It's like, well, you kind of had to be there. And she's like, but I wasn't, so stop. Does that ever happen to you?
My wife and I reenact the Jason Alexander McDLT commercial all the time. Dale asks, will the game be won in the trenches? Yes, obviously. Every game is won in the trenches. Yes, this one too. Yes. Yeah, Ronald says 8 p.m. It's not really 8 p.m. They start the pregame show.
That's just what your DVR says.
Yes, they want to sell you commercials. They want to sell you commercials for a long time before
I did forget to set the DVR.
Oops. Vinay says over under 3 total touchdowns for Trey Sermon. Can I get a half?
Right.
I think I would go. I'm going under 3.5. I'd go under 3.5. Under 3. Yeah, I mean.
Because I can't go over.
Right. Yeah, you're not going over. So yeah, I would go under 3. I think we've made it through most of them.
Do you want to read any of the bickering? Is that no?
No.
No, not so much. You don't want to encourage it?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, Corey says would be a Midwest dream if it was Notre Dame, Ohio State. Well, let me let me tell you what's going to happen in Notre Dame.
Got some bad news for you on that.
Yeah. Have you ever put
a toaster in the microwave and turned it on?
Yeah. Well, yeah, yeah. Have you ever dropped something in a blender and hit liquefy? Pretty much that.
What do you think? I don't know if I put. We did our staff picks of just winners and losers. So I did not put a score to that game. 51-28.
Notre Dame,
51-24.
Notre Dame, Alabama game.
Yeah. Like 52-20.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I think there's a possibility that that game is 28-3 in the second quarter, and then whatever happens after that, it doesn't matter.
Unless Alabama loses, that would be pretty.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, when would Alabama blow, like, I don't know, say 21-6 first half lead?
That's true.
In the playoff, I mean,
it has literally almost never happened.
Almost never, no. Yeah, there is. I don't think anyone matches up super well with Alabama this year, but the way you beat Alabama is you have like great wide receivers and you just really take advantage of their defense, and Notre Dame doesn't.
So you're saying somebody named Skowronek can't be a great wide receiver, Tom?
Is it 1974? No? Okay. Well, then.
How many bars on his face mask? 1? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. Vinay says they blew a lead against the Buckeyes in 2015. Big if true.
Correct.
Yeah, so no, that's just, it's a bad matchup for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame, I think Clemson or Ohio State gives Alabama a much better game than Notre Dame does. This is I've said this for a couple weeks now. This is a year when there's 3 really good teams.
Yep.
And they have 4 teams in the playoffs. Someone else has to be in there, and some years that's Oklahoma. Now this is Notre Dame for the second time in a couple of years, and it's like, well, there's 3 teams that are recruiting at a completely different level. Georgia's kind of close. Mm-hmm. Georgia's kind of the 4th one there, but they can't seem to get out of their own way and make it through the regular season. So
I don't.
It's just someone is going to get killed. That 1-4 game turns into a massacre most years at this point, and it's going to again this year.
Most games are blowouts in the first round. I don't know if this is the perfect perfect season as an example to have an 18 playoff or to not, because it's 3 teams, but then you also have 4 or 5 teams who have every bit of an argument, or not everybody, but as Notre Dame, they can argue that they belong just like Notre Dame. So is that a good reason to have more when the 4th team is questionable, or a bad reason because you don't need that 4th team?
I mean, I think they should go to an 18 playoff just because it keeps many more teams in it, and it gives everyone who's not in the Power 5 an actual path to a national championship.
Tom.
So they should do it. I don't think it materially changes things. It would just be a lot more interesting to have, okay, let's see Cincinnati get their shot with Alabama. Let's see, Florida have to come up to Columbus to play Ohio State in December? Like, let's see it.
It would be fun to watch.
Yeah, you know what's more fun than arguing about stuff on the internet? Actually getting to watch college football.
I don't know, Tom. These are my two favorite things.
The man says if Ohio State plays its best game versus Clemson, they'll win the game. I mean, yes, this is not even an everything has to go right for Ohio State game, but they have to play better than we've seen them at any point this year.
Right.
They don't have to play a perfect game because Clemson's not a perfect team, but they have to play a lot better than they did against Northwestern. If they play the way they played against Indiana in the first half, that might be enough. Clemson is a very, very, hey, tanker ship. Cross that one off the list too. We are chugging through. We are hitting. Well, you can't see it. It's pretty dark. Yeah, come on. It is a. They don't have to be perfect, but they have to be better than they've been.
Yeah.
And so, I think I've said, if they play this game 10 times, Ohio State wins at 4. And so Clemson being a touchdown or so favorite is not unreasonable. But when you're a touchdown favorite, that's not, you're not a 40-point favorite. This is not Alabama being a 20-point favorite over Notre Dame. Touchdown favorites lose all the time.
And a one score game is still a close game. Mm-hmm. So it's a pretty even matchup.
Yeah, I would if this is a close competitive game into the fourth quarter, you get another classic playoff game like that. I'd take that regard. One way or the other. I think I'd be perfectly happy to watch that again. See how that shakes out in the last couple minutes. Offensive shootout cannot be permitted, Young Kiz Midwest says. Control the clock, control the game. I think that's the game plan.
I think, didn't Kerry Combs say you can't stop Clemson's offense? So, just you're going to give up points.
Right.
And I think Brent Venables said something as well, like defenses can only do so much against offenses. I think that's probably why you have to steal signs.
Yeah. Did he say that out loud?
I wasn't quoting him there.
Oh, okay.
I apologize if it felt like I was quoting him there as I said that.
I don't remember what Ryan Day said this week, but it was very sly about how it's almost like they know what's coming sometimes.
Yeah,
it was... can we go back to the point where I don't think these teams care for each other all that much? We are going to be back tomorrow morning. We're going to have our buddy Matt Connolly, who is a Clemson beat writer for the State newspaper. We're planning on, we'll be talking to Dabo and Ryan Day tomorrow morning, and then we're going to do a live Q&A podcast like this one with Matt tomorrow, which will be great. So get your Clemson questions ready. He will be able to give you a lot more specifics on that. Every time we have Matt on one of our shows, whether it's a Buckeye Weekly show at the Fiesta Bowl last year, or if I have him on the Morning Scoop, everyone's like, I like this guy. He's he's not a homer. He's got a good perspective on everything. So we will have him on tomorrow morning. I'm going to guess late morning or so. We'll tweet it out in all the normal places.
But it's going to be a good opportunity to ask questions and get real answers about strengths and weaknesses from the guy who has watched them every single game and watched so many Clemson games now.
Yes, more Clemson games than anyone else, I would say. At least for a tie. I always feel like when we're talking about another team, it's like I know Ohio State really well, and I've watched a few games of the other team, but I don't know them nearly as well. So that'll be a great conversation as always. We have Dabo and Ryan Day starting at 8:30 Central Time, so 9:30 Eastern. Those press conferences usually go like a half hour, 45 minutes each, something like that, and that's a joint press conference. So it'll be probably like, I don't know, 10:30 Eastern, 11 Eastern, something like that tomorrow morning. That we'll probably be ready to talk to you. It's going to start raining at noon, so we're going to do it before then. Noon, so it'll be before noon Central Time. So, all right.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
So,
all right,
we're all set.
I think we're set.
Who are you having on the Morning Scoop tomorrow? You said is Ross.
I'm having Ross Fulton on the Morning Scoop. We've discussed some of the things I talked to him about, but he has written. Go check out BuckeyeScoop.com. Yes. Ross has written 2 articles this week that are just absolutely fantastic. Really good breakdown of the Clemson offense. Really good breakdown of the Clemson defense. What they did against Ohio State last year. What it looks like they might do, against Ohio State this year. How Ohio State might be able to respond to it. There's a lot of. There's not one thing that always works. So it's like, okay, what will Clemson try to do to stop Ohio State? Okay, then what can Ohio State do to go, to take advantage of what Clemson's trying to do? Ross always has great insight. So he's on the Morning Scoop tomorrow morning. That'll actually drop in just a few hours. I dropped that on YouTube and Spreaker about, I don't know, 8 o'clock Eastern or so tonight. So that'll be out shortly, and then we'll be back on tomorrow morning for another episode of Buckeye Weekly.
Right, and if you are not yet a member, the Ask the Insiders board right now, I think Bill Green has a chat that has been going on almost a week. Like Christmas Day did it start, I think, or Christmas Eve, and it is still going strong. Just as Tom said yesterday, I think it's Ask the Insiders. It's the place where you come and you talk to people, you ask, you can ask Tom anything, Calliope stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know about that now. You wouldn't get that anywhere else, not even Wikipedia.
Probably on Wikipedia.
Oh, okay, well, but that's two places you can get that kind of information. But I would suggest becoming a member. There's a lot of interaction going on there, tons of recruiting, as we know, and it's only picking up. There's going to be Shaheem Singletary is announcing on the 2nd, 5-star 2022 corner. Things are looking good for Ohio State there. But you want more information on that? Ask the Insiders board at BuckeyeScoop.com. Become a member. You won't regret it. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for listening, and we will talk to you in the morning.